Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Research One class. This video is dedicated to one of my former students. I just ran into them after high school graduation. I am a media specialist at a high school. I also teach a class called Research One that focuses on preparation for life after high school. So now that we got that out of the way, this video is specifically for that student. They currently work at Dollar Tree. They were one of my former students and they graduated a couple of years ago. So, with that in mind, this particular student said that he was working at Dollar Tree and still trying to figure out what it is that he wants to do. And so we talked for a minute and I gave him some advice, but I told him about this channel. And so I want him and anybody else in this situation, or any young adult or any person who's looking for a resource to prepare for life after high school or different options to advance their career, entrepreneurship, aspirations, whatever you're aiming for. But anyway, so I wanted to tell him or talk to him specifically about what I would do if I were in his situation, if I were working at Dollar Tree, if I were a year or two out of high school, and if I had expressed, like he had expressed, that he's interested in picking up a trade. Here's what I would do. And I'm located in South Florida, so fill in the blanks, swap out whatever you need to swap out for wherever you are. I know that here in South Florida we have Palm Beach State College, so I had advised him to go ahead to the local community college. That would be number one if he's interested in a trade. He actually mentioned that he was interested in HVAC, in air conditioning. So that would be the first thing I would do. So whenever I had a day off from Dollar Tree, I would definitely make it a point to hang out at the community college. And for anybody, wherever you are, it's important to get acquainted with your surroundings. That would be number one. It doesn't cost much except for time and a sacrifice in terms of whatever your normal schedule would be. But get acquainted with the local area. It starts with a Google search. So if you need to take an Uber there, if you need to take a Lyft there, if you need to take the bus there, or better yet, if you live close to your local community college, definitely get in tune or in touch with your local resources. That will be number one. If not college, I know there's a place called Career Source down here in South Florida, or any career centers, anything of that nature is going to be of a benefit to a young person, especially who's a year or two out of high school, and if they're working in retail or food service, and if you're just trying to figure out a direction. So that would be number one. As far as Palm Beach State specifically, they do have an HVAC program. And even if you're not able to make it to the campus, there's a such thing as a Google search. We have our smartphones, we can utilize those. So pull up the website, Google local community college, or for Palm Beach State, palmbeachstate.edu. And in the search bar, you can put whatever program you're interested in, or if you really want to be knowledgeable, you can actually read through each section or whatever is relevant to you. So I would advise him or anybody else to do that. As far as HVAC specifically, they're going to have a program overview or a program page. Definitely reach out to whoever the program director is or that office, the coordinator. See when there's an information session. Any of those things would be beneficial. If not your local college, I would definitely inquire about apprenticeship programs. Especially if you're a high school graduate, a lot of these apprenticeship programs, they just want you to have a basic understanding as far as math, reading, writing, or whatever it may be. So they may want you to take something called a TABE test. That's the vocational version of the SAT. So the TABE is the test of adult basic education. Keyword is basic. You do not have to be a rocket scientist. And by the way, I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm not making that comparison. I'm saying as far as what is required. Different pathways have different requirements. It's not necessarily better or worse. It's about what's the best fit for you. So I would definitely advise him and anybody else to do that. Once you find that out, I would definitely see what's required as far as an application. Is there an application fee? And also, if you're working, give yourself a purpose as to why you're working. So, to that young man, he knows who he is. I don't have to name him. If you are not sure of what to do, or if you need a sense of purpose at Dollar Tree where you're working, or whatever job you're working, you need to have money in your pocket to take advantage of opportunities or to get to opportunities, even if it's just a matter of giving somebody gas money so they can give you a ride to get to where you need to get. So please make sure you assign a sense of purpose to whatever money you're making. A lot of it has to do with perspective too. So if you're making, I don't know, minimum wage in Florida is $13 an hour. So I'm going to assume he's in that realm or in that range. If it's $13 an hour, it's a matter of perspective. So understand that you are gainfully employed. You do have an income. So if you have an income, that means you have a means to take that money and invest it in yourself to find the pathway that you're looking for. But I would definitely reach out to different apprenticeship programs. I know that in this area there's Florida Training Services, and that's honestly just a Google search away as far as local apprenticeship programs. It could be a pre-apprenticeship program. Check out your career centers. It might be Career Source. It could be any number of things, but definitely get acquainted with local resources. It is imperative that you do that so that you don't just stay in a dead end situation. Another thing I want to speak on is that any situation you are in, you can leverage to your advantage. So if you're working at night, that means you have the days available. If you work during the day, you have your evening and weekends available, or whatever it may be, because you're going to have an off day at some point. So I would say continue making your money. Make sure you have a budget. Make sure you give every dollar you have a sense of purpose. I don't know if you have to pay rent where you are. Hopefully you paid attention to that when you did the end of year project a couple of years ago. But if not, make sure you have a clear understanding of what's expected of you in your household. That makes a difference. Does your parent or guardian, do they have an expectation that you need to pay bills? Do you need to contribute to the household? Do you need to buy your own food? I know this may get to sound redundant. However, I cannot impress it upon you enough to have the answers to these questions so that you can know exactly what you're dealing with. That's a part of being a young adult, in that we don't just shrug our shoulders, or adults period. We don't just shrug our shoulders. We have to be involved, and we have to take an active role in creating the life that we want for ourselves. So I definitely wanted to make him aware, or anyone else aware. Please make sure that you are putting aside your money. Make sure you have a bank account. By the way, let me just backtrack. If you don't have a savings account or a checking account, make sure that you have that. Make sure that you do it. As far as an emergency fund, you can start off with a lower amount because it's going to add up, and it's a great habit to acquire. So I don't care if it's $5 per check. Even if it's $5 per check, that is something. If it's $10 a check, $25 per check. I don't know if you get paid weekly or bi-weekly or whatever, but I would challenge you, or any young adult, because that's the primary audience, but anybody period, but specifically I'm speaking to this young man who's a young adult, who's a year or two out of high school. I would encourage you to have an emergency fund where you can solve a $50 problem or a $100 problem. Can you handle a $250 problem on your own? Can you handle a $500 problem on your own? Can you do that? Most people, you want to get to $1,000 at least, but we can start at 50 and go from there, because we are talking about a young man who's a year or two out of high school, as I said. So I would challenge you, and you know who you are. But if it applies to you, then take what you need, discard the rest, I would encourage you to have an emergency fund, 50, 100, 250, 500. See if you can hit those markers. And I want to wish everybody the best. Until next time, take it easy.